So, you'd like to become a Wine Road ambassador. Well, that's great, and we're so excited to hear it. First, let's consider famous ambassadors who have come before us. What comes to mind? Nothing? No one? Really? Well, there's Madeleine Albright, Henry Kissinger, Sidney Poitier, amongst many others. Now, let's consider the word ambassador itself. It comes from the Latin root word imbactus, which of course means servant. And that's it. A servant to the grape. As a Wine Road ambassador, that's exactly what you'll be. After all, at the end of the day, aren't we all servants to the grape? So cheers, and here's to you, and all you need to know on your journey to becoming a Wine Road ambassador. Thank you so much for being with us today, and good luck.
Hi there, it's Beth from the Wine Road. So you're wondering, what is the Wine Road? Well, the Wine Road is a winery association that was formed in 1976. There were about 8 or 9 wineries that sort of worked together and decided that if we work together, we can market our area and we can get people to come visit our wineries and do some wine tasting. So they produced a little map that was actually hand-drawn on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. They made copies. They handed it out to the hotels in the area to try to get people to come to their tasting rooms. Right now, you're thinking in 2023, everybody knows about Sonoma County and the amazing wines they make, but think back maybe 50 years ago, they didn't. So if people are here now, it's from all the hard work that this organization has done for nearly 50 years to bring people here. Back in 2016, it was our 40th anniversary, and we actually worked with a local filmmaker, John Beck, and produced a documentary kind of showcasing the organization, how it started and how it evolved. And in that film, Dave Raffinelli talked about the first barrel tasting that was 45 years ago. And he said that the wineries thought if they could get people into the cellar and kind of explain winemaking and talk about the influence of oak on the wines, that people might find that really interesting. And Dave said, at that point, if you got someone to come, you kept them there all day. You just kept talking because you may not get another visitor. So it evolved from that, starting out to a point where in probably 2008, we had 30,000 people that came for barrel tasting. It was 2 weekends and it was just insane. So we have dialed that back because we didn't really need it to be that, but it really shows how it evolved and how now people do come to Sonoma County for wine tasting. People come from all over the world for our barrel tasting weekend. The winery organization did start as the Russian River Wine Road because at that time there were no AVAs. So those original wineries were all along the Russian River. So we changed the name in 2008 to Wine Road Northern Sonoma County to really define the area that we represent. Because with the AVAs that have been formed now in Sonoma County, we represent wineries that are in Alexander Valley, Dry Creek, and Russian River. 3 of the larger AVAs actually in the county. So the name has changed. We continue to produce the map. We distribute over 200,000 of those maps a year. And I think that even with the influx of people just using technology and they use their Google map, if you're going to plan a trip here, you still want to get that paper map, you want to spread it out on the kitchen table, and you want to highlight where you're going. So our map is still key. We sort of joke about our map. We did put Sonoma County on the map for wine, and people do come from everywhere for us. One thing the Wine Road does that I'm really proud to talk about and share is that about 12 years ago, we decided that we would start donating $1 from every event ticket that we sell throughout the year. So when you're selling thousands of event tickets, it does add up. So collectively at this point, we have donated just about $450,000 to the Redwood Empire Food Bank. And to me, that's something that our members can feel really great about, and it's something that our guests who are buying event tickets can feel great about also. They've all helped contribute to this. So thank you for joining us. I hope that you do plan a trip to Sonoma County. We really are the resource for both education for our winery members and for visitors. For our wineries, we try to promote seminars for them on wine club development and on customer service skills and training their staff. And for customers, we want to be the resource for you to learn about wine tasting, to learn about the different varietals, to learn the different characteristics of the AVAs that we represent. So all of that information can be on our website. We produce an amazing podcast where we interview winemakers and winery owners, because we know that you can make a better connection with the wineries if you know the people behind the wines. So check out wineroad.com and then plan a trip. We're here to help you. Watch the video, do the study guide, take the test, and become an ambassador. And then we'll see you along the wine road. Thanks.
Hi, I'm George Christie, President and founder of Wine Industry Network, and I'm here to talk a little bit about my experience with the Wine Road. I joined the board in 1996. I was very new to the wine industry. I was recruited by a good friend, Maureen Kelly, who worked for Mazzacco at the time. And I really had no idea what I was getting myself into or what I could contribute, because I was so new to the wine industry. But in retrospect, it probably is one of the most important things that happened to me early in my career, because as a result, I made these incredible relationships that I continue to have to this day. And I didn't have a lot of experience, but I had these new relationships. I had these friendships, these fellow board members that I could go to ask questions that I didn't have anywhere else to go to. So when people think about what we do, they really think of it as the wine industry. But I remember listening to a podcast where Beth Costa was hosting Joy Sterling. And Joy talked about it really kind of with a lot of passion. It's not an industry, it's a community. And that really struck a chord with me, because certainly when we think about our interactions in the marketplace with the consumers and trade, yeah, that's an industry. But when I think about my personal experience with the wine industry, it really is a community. I mean, these are our friends. Our kids go to school together. They're on the same Little League teams together. When we go out to a restaurant, we run into other people who are part of the wine community. And I think that's one of the things that makes this industry so different, so special, so unique. And a lot of what I've experienced really was a direct result of my involvement with Wine Road as a board member. So if you decided that wine is what you want to do, that's what you want to focus your career on, then my parting advice is this: get involved. Join your local association, get on a committee, be a part of the board. It's those connections, those relationships that you're going to make as a result are going to make all the difference for you going forward.
Hello, I'm Hank Wetzel, and my wife Linda and I built our winery here in the Alexander Valley in 1975. I'm speaking to you today from the front porch of a house that Cyrus and Rufina Alexander built in the 1840s. It was rebuilt after the San Francisco earthquake in 1906. But I'm surrounded by this wonderful Banksia rose that their descendants planted, who knows when, perhaps 80 or 100 years ago, but it's a beautiful rose bush and it smells wonderful. When my parents bought this property in 1962, there weren't a lot of wine grapes planted here. And in fact, when the Alexanders first came here, their crop was livestock. And oddly enough, cattle hides were the currency of California before gold was discovered. Hides would be tanned and shipped east for the making of shoes. And so when my parents bought this place, the first couple of days we were here, we actually had a steer up on the porch eating weeds growing up through the porch boards. And there was, the ranch was still covered with livestock. But also on the valley floor and the fertile soils, there was some wheat grown, a lot of pear trees, plums to make prunes, and a few wine grapes. This is an area that Italians immigrated into in the late 1800s and even the early 1900s, and they loved to make wine. Even if it was just homemade wine, they had a few grapes planted. But my family, my father, my grandfather were in the airplane business, and they were convinced, after traveling in France in particular, that wine grapes were the thing that we should plant here. My mom and dad went to work planting these grapes here, and they were so right about that decision, because now the whole valley is 98% from a farming standpoint dedicated to wine grapes. After 1975, when we started making wine, fairly quickly thereafter, the Alexander Valley had to be defined as an appellation, and I took on that task. The Alexander Valley is kind of a quiet growing area. A lot of people don't know much about it, but it's the largest grape growing area in Sonoma County. About 15,000 acres of grapevines here. Because of the way zoning works here, there aren't a whole lot of wineries, so parcel sizes are large, and perhaps 40 or 50 wineries in the valley. Where we're located, we're at close to the southern end of the valley, and it extends northwest up to the Mendocino County line, perhaps 20-25 miles northwest of here. And of course, the Russian River flows down through the middle of the valley, and that aquifer makes our grape growing here really fairly easy. We're about 30 miles from the ocean, so we get the cool nights and mornings that are typical of California coastal valleys. And a number of different wine grape varieties grow extremely well here. Over the decades since I built my winery, we've grown about 12 or 14 different grape varieties. And one of the sad things for me a little bit is that more and more of the grapes that are planted here are Cabernet Sauvignon and some other Bordeaux varietals. But that wine is so popular, and we do such a good job producing that wine here in the Alexander Valley, that now over 50% of my production is Cabernet Sauvignon. But we've always made great Chardonnay. Years ago, we used to make Chenin Blanc. We grow a lot of Merlot and Zinfandel. So there are any number of grape varieties that grow really well here. And we also have a very diverse soil structure. On the valley floor, we have extremely deep, gravelly loam soils with abundant groundwater down 20, 30 feet. So the vines can extend their roots and get the minerals in the soil and some of that water. And then as you go up onto the slopes of the hills on either side of the valley, there's a lot of clay soil, and in some places some beautiful red volcanic soil that makes it a great place to grow grapes. Our growing season starts now, late March, I guess, early April. We're in the middle of April right now, and extends all the way until, in some vintages, the first week in November, before we pick the last of our fruit. That long, cool at night, warm at day growing season gives us along with our soils and our water, gives us a great location, climate to produce these great wines. And finally, I'd like to invite you to come and visit. This is a beautiful, beautiful part of the world, and especially if you've traveled, you know that California is a very special place with all its beautiful sights, its coastlines, its mountains, and its agriculture, something that gets overlooked sometimes. But agriculture is a huge part of the California economy, and what makes this valley a special place for growing wine grapes is its wonderful maritime climate, soil, abundant water. We're able to do a great job with our wine grapes here. So come and visit us, come and see us. You're welcome anytime.
Hi, I'm Julie Pedroncelli St. John from Pedroncelli Winery here in Dry Creek Valley, Sonoma County. And I'm here to tell you a little bit more about Dry Creek Valley and what makes it so special. My family founded the winery in 1927, And, but you know what? The grape growing and wine making go back even further to the 1850s when people first settled in the area and had a taste for wine and found out that this was a great spot to grow grapes. And the wine industry began in the late 1850s into the 1860s. Prohibition paused it, but that was good news for my grandparents because they bought a winery, a shuttered winery and vineyard in the middle of Prohibition, and waited it out by selling grapes. And then once it ended, they were able to make grapes, grow grapes and make wine. And that's how 9 decades of our family business started. So Dry Creek Valley is located at the northwest corner of Sonoma County. It's 16 miles long by 2 miles wide. It's the smallest of the 4 major appellations here in Sonoma County. And it's home to 9,000 acres of vineyard. I'll just give you the list as they go down. Cabernet Sauvignon is the most widely planted, followed by Chardonnay, then Zinfandel, Sauvignon Blanc, and Merlot. There are 5,000 acres of Zinfandel planted in Sonoma County, and half of them, 2,500 acres, are planted right here in Dry Creek Valley. So we kind of have the corner on Zinfandel, if you take my gist. And anyway, so the other thing is, of course, with all those grapes, there's got to be wineries. And so we have lots of neighbors. We have the wine business, of course, once Prohibition ended and repeal started, took a while to get going again. And it wasn't until the 1970s that a lot of other people started to find the region and start to buy up land, plant vineyard, and build their wineries. Some of those early ones are A. Raffinelli, Dry Creek Vineyard, Mill Creek Vineyard, and then many others joined. Today we have well over 60 wineries right here in Dry Creek Valley, so there are lots of choices. The other news is, yes, I mentioned Cabernet Sauvignon, Zinfandel, Chardonnay as some of the top varieties planted here in Dry Creek Valley. Well, there's also Italian varieties planted here as well as Rhone varieties. So really, when you come and visit wineries here in Dry Creek Valley, you're going to find a very wide range of not only grapes to try, but all different kinds of styles, from real small, tiny boutique wineries to some of the larger wineries, larger production wineries, like Pedroncelli, Dry Creek Vineyard. So the other thing that makes Dry Creek Valley special is the climate. We often talk about our foggy nights and the marine intrusion. What's so nice about it being situated is it's between the hills, and to the south of us is Russian River, and Dry Creek flows right through our valley. So that confluence really draws the fog up, and we do have a lot of very cool nights. And of course, what does that mean for the grapes? It means that it gives them the right combination where it's cool, it develops the acidity, it develops the sugars, and it makes these wonderful wines. Dry Creek Valley has 2 roads that are parallel, and wineries are along those, but also all off on a lot of the different side roads. But you'll find Dry Creek Road, of course, runs right through the valley, and West Dry Creek Road. You'll find at the north end of Dry Creek Valley, there's Lake Sonoma. Unusual, we have a lake. It wasn't here when I was growing up, and it wasn't here when my grandparents founded the winery, but it's a wonderful spot to really understand how important water is to not only Dry Creek Valley, but to our neighbors to the south of us, because they're all beneficiaries of the water from Lake Sonoma. But if you ever want a little more information, visit Lake Sonoma, because they have a hatchery and all kinds of things to visit. If you are intending to do some sightseeing, a bicycle is a great way to get around. You just start at the town of Hillsburg and come on up the valley, and there's, again, like all those little side roads and great little winery spots to stop. There's picnicking areas at many of the wineries that we have here in Dry Creek Valley. You know, it's family, it's small wineries, it's this little beautiful grape and wine growing community, just a couple of miles from Hillsburg or even the town of Geyserville. So you'll find everything you need right here, from Zinfandel to Chardonnay, from Cabernet Sauvignon to Sangiovese, and everything in between. So welcome, and please come and visit us.
Hey everyone, I'm Gio with Russian River Vineyards. We're here today to talk about everything there is to know about the Russian River Valley. Maybe not everything, but some of the fun facts. I'm the winemaker and co-owner of Russian River Vineyards, where we're shooting this video today. Some super cool things about the Russian River Valley. There's over 15,000 acres of grapes planted, mostly to Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. The third leading varietal is Zinfandel. One of the cool things that I appreciate is the climate and the soil and a lot of that terroir of the valley. There are 6 different distinct neighborhoods where the climate and terroir are very different. Those neighborhoods are the Middle Reach, Eastern Hills, Laguna Ridge, Santa Rosa Plains, Sebastopol Hills, and Green Valley itself. What's so cool is from the north, they're the warmest, and the south, they're the coolest. So when the grapes ripen, they can be like 45 days apart from when you harvest from a specific vineyard from the north and the south. Another distinct thing is flavor profile on grapes. The warmer characteristics or the warmer neighborhoods, there's big, rich, ripe red flavors in the fruit. And then as you move south, it gets to more blueberry and blue fruit and a lot more bright acidity. So that's one of the big distinct traits between the neighborhood to neighborhood. There's also 70 wineries within the Russian River Valley. Large commercial ones to small mom and pop ones. My winery itself is about 8,500 cases now, which still puts us at a very boutique winery. Another very unique thing about the Russian River Valley versus other AVAs or other areas is just the layout. When you look at a map of the Russian River Valley, there's hundreds of different roads that run through it. It's almost like a spider web. So when we encourage guests to come to the valley, we want you to pick a specific area and just explore that. The Russian River is so large, it's hard to do everything in one day. So we really encourage guests to plan a 3 to 4 day trip and explore all these little different pockets. And you've got small little wineries that are at the end of this one-lane road. One example is Iron Horse Vineyards. They're at the top of the hill at the end of the road. Pretty easy to find and easy to get to, but it's just an example of just this one-lane road and a winery at the end of it. They also make some beautiful sparkling and champagne. Some other fun facts. We usually harvest around September 15th. Those are some of the first grapes in the Russian River Valley. Now, if you harvest sparkling, you might pick a lot earlier because you want the sugar levels to be lower in those grapes. I make some Cabernet from the Russian River, and that's often harvested last towards the middle to end of October. It just takes the Cabernet grapes a lot longer to ripen the way I like them to. The other big attraction of the Russian River is the Russian River itself. There are, I'd probably say, millions of guests that visit each year to the little town of Guerneville, where the resorts and some of the best river access is in the Russian River Valley. And that also flows all the way out to Bodega Bay and Jenner, which is the mouth of the Russian River, where the mouth of the river ends and touches the ocean. And I'll wrap up by saying it's the 40th anniversary of the Russian River Valley. We were established in 1983, so I encourage you all to come visit us on our 40th anniversary, enjoy some great wine in a great place and a great atmosphere. Cheers and have a great one.
My name is Joy Sterling, and I am lucky enough to live here at Iron Horse Vineyards. This is my family's winery, and we're located in Green Valley. I'm so happy to talk to you about Green Valley today. It is a very special AVA, American Viticultural Area. Most people grasp it as a sub-appellation because Green Valley lies entirely within the Russian River, but it is actually its own federally recognized AVA. The border little towns are Occidental, Forestville, and Sebastopol. It's one of the smaller areas in Sonoma County. We carry the flag for Green Valley because the applicant for federal recognition was my mother, Audrey M. Sterling, and her attorney of record was my father, Barry H. Sterling. This was in 1983, simultaneous with Russian River filing for its AVA status. So this was very pioneering in 1983, and it's exciting that this year, 2023, marks the 40th anniversary of establishing this as a recognized, distinctive area. So the characteristics that make Green Valley so special are, number one, the fog. The fog comes to us from the south through the Petaluma Gap, although we're only 13 miles from the ocean due west, but the fog comes around from the south. And we are the coolest, foggiest part of the Russian River. And also we have a unique soil type called Gold Ridge soil. And Gold Ridge soil is a sandy clay loam. It has fabulous drainage, and it is one of the most coveted soil types, especially for Pinot Noir, primarily because all of the mineral elements of Gold Ridge soil are inherently naturally balanced. It's already harmonious. There's nothing we need to do to the soil to ameliorate it, and that always contributes directly to higher quality when you don't have to fiddle with something, that it's naturally balanced. And in wine, balance equals beauty. I love romantically that 5 million years ago, Green Valley was an inland sea that slowly tilted and drained into the Pacific, leaving behind this sandy soil bed. And when we first got here in the 70s, you could just go 18 inches down and still find fossilized shells. We haven't seen them in a long, long time, but our dirt is as old as anybody's, and we just love that. And we feel that we are able to get unique flavors out of this area that cannot be replicated anywhere else, and that they are stupendously delicious, and we are just so lucky to be able to call Green Valley our home.
Hi, I'm Marcy Gordon. I write, I travel, I drink, and I'm thirsty for more. I also host the award-winning podcast with Beth Costa. The podcast posts every other Thursday. We talk to winemakers, give you travel itineraries, and tell you what's new and happening in Sonoma County. You might ask, how did the podcast come about? Well, one day we were sitting around the warehouse looking at the maps, and I thought, why don't we bring this to life? Let people hear what we see and do every day. And that's how it started. Check us out at wineroadpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Carissa Cruz, and I run the Sonoma County Wine Growers. The Sonoma County Wine Growers is a local association that works on behalf of the 1,800 grape growers right here in our backyard of Sonoma County. You might be surprised to know that 95% of our vineyards are owned by local families. And in fact, the average size of our vineyards is less than 50 acres. That makes these men and women farmers actually small business owners. And it's why our commitment to sustainability is incredibly important. So in the Sonoma County Wine Growers, we do two important things. We promote our local region, which is really fun. We get to go out there and invite people to enjoy our wines and come visit our beautiful county. But the most important thing we do is we work to preserve local agriculture. So back in 2014, Sonoma County Wine Growers were really the first wine region in the entire world to make a formal, bold commitment to be 100% certified sustainable in all of our vineyards. So what does that even mean? Our local grape growers follow 140 best management practices in everything they do, from their farming, so water conservation, greenhouse gas emissions, energy efficiency, to their business, succession, training, thinking about how to invest the next dollar to make the best decision for the future of their farm, and the most important part, how they're investing and taking care of their workforce and our local community. I am really proud that in 2019, we were able to say that we are 99% certified sustainable in all of our vineyards, literally making us the most sustainable wine growing region in the world. So it might not surprise you that this commitment to sustainability led to our vision just last year for the farm of the future. We want to ensure that agriculture is around for the next 100 years. And we know Sonoma County can play an important part in our local wine growers in literally being a living lab where we invite collaboration and partners from around the world to come here and work with our farmers who are innovators and pioneers and forward thinking to help us figure out what we need, whether it's technology, farming practices, thinking through our workforce. So I hope you follow along and join us on this journey as we work together to ensure that agriculture is around for the next 100 years.
Hi, my name is Todd O'Leary and I'm the VP of Marketing and Communications for Sonoma County Tourism. I started visiting Sonoma County 20 years ago when I lived in the Midwest. So to do what I do as a living is the best job in the entire world. To promote this destination day in and day out, it's a destination that I love and I'm excited to share it with all of you. We say that life opens up in Sonoma County. Located just north of the San Francisco Bay Area, Sonoma County is home to a wide variety of not only winery experiences, but we also have the coastal redwoods and 55 miles of Pacific coastline to explore here in our destination. That, in addition to many amazing towns and cities that are just waiting to be explored. And for those of you who work in our wine industry, we encourage you to check out sonomacounty.com. There, we feature a wide variety of travel inspiration, from content that spans all different interests and covers different parts of our destination, and also provides our calendar of events where you can find inspiration year-round of all the things that there are to see and do in our beautiful destination. In addition, we also have the Sonoma County app. Once again, if you visit our website at sonomacounty.com and type in the word app, you'll be linked to our new travel planning app that is available on both Apple and Android devices. There, you'll find lots of itineraries from fellow travelers like yourselves, as well as links to literally thousands of businesses scattered throughout Sonoma County. So as we've talked about, we are your one-stop shop for all travel inspiration about Sonoma County. From our website, sonomacounty.com, to our mobile app, to our calendar of events and our social feeds, we provide daily travel inspiration for Sonoma County.
Hi, it's Beth from the Wine Road. I'm back. I have been working at the Wine Road for so long, and I think every meeting that I ever wrap up by saying, wait, I have one more thing. So when I watched this video, I thought there's a couple things that we forgot to mention. We talked about the Wine Road encompassing Alexander Valley, Dry Creek, and Russian River. But as Joy pointed out, we also encompass Green Valley, which is in the middle of the Russian River, but it's its own separate AVA, as well as Chalk Hill, which is on the eastern side of the Russian River AVA, as well as Rockpile. And Rockpile is just past Lake Sonoma in Healdsburg. So I thought if you're going to learn about the Wine Road, you really should get the whole full picture of the area that we represent. Then I thought I should mention the podcast. I hope that you do tune in and listen. And Marcy mentioned that you can find us online at wineroadpodcast.com. But if you're a podcast listener, you can find us on any platform where you like to listen to podcasts. It's Wine Road Podcast, the wine, when, and where of Northern Sonoma County. And I will throw in just one more time, yes, it is the award-winning podcast, so check it out. So lastly, I want to tell you about the Insider Club, which is a great value if you're a local and you go tasting all the time, or if you're a visitor and you're only going to be here once. At over 20 wineries that you can get 2-for-1 tasting as an insider, or 10% off your wine purchases, and then there's a lot of other perks that sort of come and go. So check it out. It's on wineroad.com, click on Explore, and then click on the Insider link. And that's really it. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in and learn about the Wine Road and who we are and what we do. And personally, I'm out on the Wine Road all the time, so I hope that our paths cross, and I'll see you soon.
You made it, and it's so good to see you again. Hopefully, you've learned a thing or two along the way, as there is a quiz to take, and there are study guides to help you out. Once you've passed with flying colors, you will then be a certified Wine Road ambassador. And with that ambassadorship comes one of the highly sought after and desired Wine Road ambassador pins. You can see I'm already wearing mine. Bragging rights along the Wine Road. So congratulations, and I'll see you along the Wine Road.